Montana officials will now have to consider the environmental impact of greenhouse gas emissions when considering energy permits after a landmark court ruling. For the first time in U.S. history, a group of young activists sued the government for failing to protect them from climate change and won. The judge found the plaintiffs have a fundamental constitutional right to a clean and healthful environment, which includes climate as part of the environmental life support system. Let's bring in Ricky Held, one of the plaintiffs in that case and one of the lead trial attorneys who litigated it, Phil Gregory of Our Children's Trust, as well as our chief meteorologist and managing editor of the ABC News Climate Unit, Ginger Z, and senior Washington reporter Devin Dwyer for more on all of this. Ricky, I want to start with you. What was your reaction when this ruling came down?
Yeah, I guess we all got on Zoom together, our whole team working on this case, and they told us the ruling, and it was so exciting, and it kind of felt unbelievable at the time, just because we've been working on this for so long, and it was such a great ruling in our favor.
Ricky, what made you want to go forward with this suit? How did this all happen?
Well, yeah, I just got in contact with OCT at Our Children's Trust and heard about what they were doing with the case and was just very excited to get involved. And it sounded like the perfect thing to do, especially when we have rights such as to a clean and healthful environment written in our Constitution.
Devin, what went into this decision and what kind of a precedent could this set?
Well, it's important to remember, Diane, this was a state court case based, as Ricky just said there, on Montana's Constitution. Montana is one of a handful of states that has explicit language in the text of the Constitution guaranteeing citizens of Montana a right to a clean and healthful environment. And what Ricky and 15 other young people alleged was that the state's support for fossil fuels and specifically a ban in Montana on any agency considering greenhouse gases and making policy decisions, they argued that that was violating that terms of the Constitution, that guarantee, and a judge agreed. You put up one quote there. The judge said Montana's Constitution has that fundamental right, and she laid out in methodical, plain language the scientific evidence to back that up. She said climate change is happening, it's impacting, harming these kids here in Montana, and that the state, by promoting fossil fuels, isn't helping them, and she basically struck down that part of Montana law, Diane.
Phil, how did this case come about? How did you build the suit?
We built this suit both by the scientific testimony of world-renowned experts, as well as the actions of the government, investigating them through not only current actions of the Montana government, but historical actions, and finally through the compelling testimony of plaintiffs like Ricky.
A spokesperson for the Montana Attorney General is vowing to appeal the ruling, saying Montana's emissions have little impact on a global scale. What's your response to that?
We hope that Montana appeals this decision and it becomes the law of the state of Montana through a Supreme Court decision. Montana did not put on much evidence at all, and we believe that Judge Seeley's findings will be sustained by the Montana Supreme Court.
Ginger, how significant is this ruling, and what do you think it means overall for the fight against climate change?
You know, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't read through these types of things all that often unless it's my own contracts. But I did find that for science to be used this way, especially for climate science versus, say, environmental science, this is huge for precedents, because when you talk about the average warming of Montana being 2.2 degrees Fahrenheit in the last 120 years, there are plenty of states that can claim that, and some more. Montana is warming faster because it is one of those higher latitude positions, and so they had that on their side. I thought that it was really interesting just to see in a legal document overwhelming scientific consensus that Earth is warming as a direct result of human greenhouse gas emissions, primarily from burning of fossil fuels. To see that in law, and then to think that they could be rebuttal and take it to Supreme Court is really interesting. And finally, I'd say that, you know, they are using every ton counts, and every ton persists for hundreds of years, if not millennia, and children are at more risk than others. We certainly know that environmentally, asthma and beyond. We've done so many stories on that, but to take it to the emissions of Montana specifically, and yes, the other folks like Judith Curry added it up and say Montana doesn't do as much, it's 0.000 or 0018 degrees Celsius, that it's not enough. I still think this is just such a landmark ruling for science.
So, Ricky, why is this issue so important to you, and what's next for you?
Yeah, this is really important because as I've gone through this case, I've gotten to tell my personal story and how my family's ranch and motels are impacted. So it's very personal, but I also just really care about Montana and our land and also the rest of the world and the place we live and the people.
And Phil, one of the big questions with this case is what kind of precedent it could set for the future. What's next for our Children's Trust? Do you plan more lawsuits like this?
Yes, we have an upcoming trial in Hawaii in June 2024. We have our major federal case, Juliana versus United States, moving forward in Oregon. And this decision will help other judges understand both the importance of the climate science and what's going on in terms of how government actions are degrading our environment.
All right, Phil Gregory, Ricky Hell, Ginger Z, Devin Dwyer, thank you all.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.